Minnesota, acknowledge your reigning, defending, undisputed NFC North heavyweight champions of the world, and soon to be your NFC number 1 seed, 'cause all roads go through the Detroit Lions. So yeah, big Week 18 matchup on Sunday Night Football coming up this week. We got the Minnesota Vikings coming to town in one of the biggest regular season finales of all time in terms of how many storylines, stakes, and ramifications are on the line in this game. And one of the biggest NFC North matchups of all time in terms of all the stakes and storylines and ramifications coming into this game. Because this game is pretty much a playoff game to end the regular season. Winner-take-all game for the NFC North and the NFC 1 seed. The loser wins the North and gets the 1 seed, which gives you a home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs. The loser will be relegated to a wild card spot and will most likely play the Rams or whoever wins the NFC South. Have to wait and see how Week 18 goes. But yeah, and also this is the first time in NFL history we've had 2 14-win teams go head-to-head against each other in the regular season. I believe it's happened in the playoffs and the Super Bowl before, but it has never happened in the regular season until Sunday night. And also, regardless of who wins this game, the loser of this game will make NFL history for all the wrong reasons. Because the loser of this game will become the first team in NFL history to win 14 games in a season and fail to win their division. Because usually 14 wins has been more than enough to win a division any other year. Just this year, it will not be this year. For whichever team it is, we'll find out come Sunday night. So yeah, for the point spread in this game, well, Detroit, they're still favored. They enter this game as 3-point favorites against the Vikings. But even then, though, especially with the way the media has talked about Detroit, it still feels like Detroit is the underdog coming into this game. So yeah, and of course on Minnesota, they lead the all-time series against Detroit 44-2. However, Detroit has won the last 4 meetings against the Vikings, and Detroit has won 5 of the last 6 against the Vikings. And of course, Minnesota, they come into this game on a 9-game winning streak. The last time the Vikings lost the game was all the way back in Week 8 when they lost that Thursday night game to the Rams when the Vikings fell victim to that Lions hangover curse thing. Back when the hangover curse was still a thing. But yeah, and of course on Minnesota this year, they're 6-1 on the road this year, while Detroit is 6-2 at home this year. So both of Detroit's losses this year have come at home. Wow, because Detroit went 8-0 on the road this year. Detroit went undefeated on the road. But yeah, in terms of Vikings, the key players, we're not going to go over that because we literally went over that back in Week 7. So just watch the Week 7 preview and then come back here to find that out. Like, the main difference is that this game, TJ Hawkinson and Blake Cashman are playing for the Vikings in this game. Like, the only key injuries to note on the Vikings are J.J. McCarthy, who's still out with that meniscus injury he suffered back in preseason. And Aaron Jones is questionable for this game with a quad injury. He'll probably play through it. Because the majority of players are playing through injuries or at least being banged up. Like, have you ever seen some injury reports when a team gets eliminated? Especially in hockey. Well, usually like in sports like hockey, they're playing with broken bones and torn ligaments and shit through the playoffs. And football will be no different. So yeah, and of course, no changes to Vikings coaching staff, so we're not going to go over that either. We are going to go over the rankings, because for the Vikings, their offense in terms of yards is 10th. They're 5th in the passing game, but they're 19th in the run game. In terms of the defense, the Vikings defense is the 18th ranked defense. They're 28th against the pass, but they're the number 2 defense against the run. So obviously, just find a way to get that ball out. Try to get Jared, just let Jared cook. I think also running the ball offense. Like, pretty much everything the Lions have done well offensively. Just need to keep doing that. And keep in mind, I know a lot of people talk about how great Brian Flores is, but keep in mind, majority of games where Flores' defenses have given up 30 points on the Vikings, majority of those games have come against Detroit. Because Ben Johnson knows what Brian Flores does, and he's prepared for it. Like, Ben Johnson so far has had Brian Flores' number on that front. But I think, obviously, balanced offense, let Goff swing that rock out. Let Jahmyr Gibbs run the ball. Control time of possession. Like, the best way for the Vikings offense and not Pitt trying to take advantage of how banged up the Lions defense is to keep the Vikings offense off the field for as long as humanly possible. So maybe gamble a bit, maybe go for it on a fourth down here or there. Whatever you got to do to control time of possession to keep the Vikings offense off the field. Like, it's going to be a very strategic game. Defensively, you got to find a way to get pressure to Darnold. Got to find a way to shut Jefferson down, which is going to be very hard to do. And especially Addison, too. And then find a way to contain T.J. Hawkinson as well. Also stuff in the run of Aaron Jones' plays, so that will be key. They also got other running backs in there, too, to take the load in case Aaron Jones can't go for this game. So pretty much everything Detroit did well in Week 7, just with some minor improvements to whatever they struggled with, just do that. Not going to be an easy game by any stretches of the imagination. Like, I think this game is going to be a high-scoring shootout. But, Detroit, they're equipped and ready for it. They're equipped and ready for a high-scoring shootout. And, of course, keep in mind, the Vikings, I believe, are like 9-10-1 in one-score games. The only game they lost by one score in was against Detroit back in Week 7. Because the game against the Vikings, the game against the Rams, the Vikings lost by 10. So yeah, Detroit has had Minnesota's number in a one-score game. But, of course, this game has everything on the line. And, of course, I've heard everything from the media all week. The media not really giving Detroit much of a chance because the defense is banged up by injury. Oh, Darnold's going to have all day to throw. And, Jahmyr Gibbs is not going to do that well without Knuckles in the backfield. Even though there is a possibility where David Montgomery could be available for this game. We'll have to see how this week of practice goes. Because even though the Lions got some guys banged up on injury, they're going to have some guys back for this game. Mainly Khalif Raymond should be back. Even Alex Anzalone is expected to be back for this game. And most likely Enos Rakestraw will be back for this game. Like, even though the Lions have some injuries, a lot of those names are going to start falling off the board. As we're going to be getting some guys back just in time for the playoffs. When it matters the most. But yeah, and even though, funny as everyone says Jahmyr Gibbs can't do much and step up without David Montgomery in the backfield. Even though in that Week 7 matchup, David Montgomery wasn't even really a factor in that game, while Jahmyr Gibbs had a majority of the Lions' rushing yards in that game. So Jahmyr Gibbs has already proven he could do it on his own against the Vikings. He's just going to have to do it again. Like, honestly, I'm not really taking anything the media says seriously about Detroit in this game. Because everything they said negatively about Detroit, it's the same fucking shit they have said every single week. And every single week, it has not mattered. I know Viking fans are right trying to pump their chests and talking all the shit they can right now. Which, honestly, I'm not taking anything Viking fans say serious right now. And here's why I don't. Because Viking fans literally did the same fucking song and dance routine back in Week fucking 7 when they were 5-0 and talked all that shit about how Detroit wasn't ready for Minnesota and how Detroit was coming into US Bank and Detroit's gonna get their ass kicked by the Vikings. And what happened in that Week 7 matchup? Oh yeah, that's right. Detroit punched Minnesota straight in the fucking mouth. And the Vikings fans are doing the same thing again because Viking fans never learn their fucking lesson because they're so goddamn retarded. And they're doing the same fucking song and dance routine talking about how, Detroit ain't ready for Week 18 because of their history in these type of games. And how Minnesota's coming in Detroit Week 18 and going to kick Detroit's ass and take the North and the 1 seed away from Detroit. Like, you're literally doing the same fucking song and dance routine in Week 5. Like you did in Week 7. And you know what? Detroit punched you in the ass, punched you straight in the mouth again. So, since Detroit did it before, they should be able to do it a second time. Maybe the second time Viking fans will finally get their heads out of their asses and bury their heads out of the sand and learn from their lesson. But then again, Viking fans are too incapable of learning their lesson because they're not too very bright. For fuck's sakes, a majority of them are still crying about the Kirby Joseph injuring Hawkinson last year, which that incident happened over a year ago. Viking fans, it's been a year since the Hawkinson injury. Grow up and get over it, you fucking babies. And I know a lot of Viking fans are going to want Hawkinson to injure Kirby Joseph. I've even heard a bunch of Viking fans saying they want Hawkinson to injure Kirby. Because apparently Kirby Joseph doing his job last year in week against the Vikings apparently broke some unwritten rule in football. And now all the Minnesota crybabies are all out looking for blood. Well, you ain't going to get no fucking blood Sunday night. And you know what? It would be funny as hell if Kirby got an interception or two at TJ Hawkinson's expense, just so the Minnesota fans could cry even harder about Kirby Joseph. And honestly, if all Viking fans saying they're watching Kirby, well, I say it's, well, keep watching. You were full of fucking shit before Kirby injured Hawkinson, and you're full of shit now. And oh, by the way, the Kirby Joseph incident, that wasn't even deliberate. That was an accident. Sometimes shit happens. And Kirby Joseph did nothing wrong. It was a clean hit. Go argue with a brick wall. But yeah, honestly, it's only kind of fitting that all comes down to a game against Minnesota. And we all know why Viking fans really hate the Lions and are very jealous and insecure of Detroit's success. And let me tell you the reasons why. 2021, the Lions' first win in the Dan Campbell era came against the Vikings when Detroit was 0-10-1. Yeah, Detroit's first win in the Dan Campbell era came at the Minnesota's expense. 2022, when the Vikings were dominant in 2022 and the Lions got off to that slow start, they faced the Vikings late in the season, and entering the second game against the Vikings, Detroit entered as 7-point favorites, and Minnesota fans were all questioning what the fuck was Vegas thinking. Only to find out that Vegas knew something we didn't know, which was Detroit was legit, and then Detroit won that said game in 2022 and exposed the Vikings for being the frauds that they always were and being a paper NFC North champion. Because let's be honest about the Vikings' 2022 NFC North title. That was a paper championship. Everyone knows the real NFC North champions were the 3-1-3. Because all roads go through Detroit. And then 2023, the Lions won a division in Week 16 against the Vikings in Minnesota, in Minnesota's house, dethroning the Vikings in their house during their little whiteout game. And yeah, that's the real reason why Viking fans hate the Lions that much and are jealous and insecure of Detroit's success. Because the last 3 years, Detroit's three big moments the last 3 years have come at Minnesota's expense. And Sunday night, it will be another one added to that list, as Detroit will retain the NFC North title and will clinch and for the first time ever in franchise history Sunday night, they'll clinch the NFC 1 seed against the Vikings at Minnesota's expense. It's only fitting. Detroit's first win in the Dan Campbell era came at Minnesota's expense. The first division title came at Minnesota's expense. And Sunday night, the first time ever in franchise history, the Lions getting the 1 seed in the NFC and making the road to Super Bowl 59 go through the 3-1-3. It will come at Minnesota's expense. And y'all act like we ain't ready for this game? Bitch, please. 2 years ago, we were in this Week 18 regular season finale matchup against Green Bay. And we beat their ass in Lambeau and ended the Aaron Rodgers era. Oh yeah, that's another reason why Viking fans also hate the Lions so much. Because Detroit was the one that ended Aaron Rodgers' career in Green Bay and sent his ass straight to New York to go join the Jets. Because it wasn't Minnesota that did it. It was Detroit that went into Lambeau Week 18 Sunday night and eliminated the Packers from the playoff contention and ended Aaron Rodgers' career at Green Bay. Because we all know how much Viking fans really hate the Packers because that little fucking border rivalry they have. And that is those 4 things alone, those 4 or 5 things I already mentioned, that has made Viking fans so insecure and jealous of Detroit. And all I say is good. Keep it up. You only hate us because you ain't us. And you know what? You want to portray us as the villain so much? It's okay. We're wearing the black Sunday night, so we're going to already dress the part of the villain as the villain. And guess what? We're winning the North. We're taking the NFC 1 seed. We're keeping what is rightfully ours. And there ain't a goddamn thing you Viking fans can do about it. See how Lions get the win? I got the Lions covering the spread. I got the Lions winning by 3. I'm going to say Lions win 32-29. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. But Detroit's equipped to win. And I think Sunday night, you're going to see that Detroit will do what good teams do. Find a way to win. And I think having Alex Anzalone back in the defense will be a big piece for the defense to at least get some pass rushes. And at least get some pressure in. So yeah, even though they're banged up right now, they got reinforcements coming. And we might be getting the Sonic Knuckles duo back this week. We'll have to see what happens with Montgomery. Either that or we'll get Montgomery back in the playoffs for sure. And also keep this in mind, we get John Kaminsky back in the playoffs as well. Since Kaminsky will be ready to go for the playoffs. But yeah, that'll wrap it up. See you all later. Let's go get this win. Let's go sweep the Vikings. Because this year we have swept 2 divisions. We swept the AFC South. We swept the NFC West. And if we win Sunday night, we sweep the NFC North. Because we're currently 5-0 against the North. We swept the Packers. We swept the Bears. The only team in the North we haven't swept yet is the Vikings. And oh boy, if Detroit goes 6-0 against the division this year, that would make Viking fans hella jealous and insecure and salty. Oh, I say something. If you all thought the crying Viking fans did for Kirby Joseph doing his job last year was bad, that would be nothing in compared to how salty the fan base would be and how big a crybabies the Viking fans would become if Detroit goes 6-0 against the entire North and gets the 1 seed at Minnesota's expense. The amount of salt that would be produced from Minnesota would feed families for generations. Just like how this game will feed families for generations. Easily one of the biggest hyped up matches in NFL history. And this game will live up to the hype. And Detroit, in black, will win the NFC North once again, the black and blue division. And will become the 1 seed at Minnesota's expense. Because Minnesota will try what they want. But Minnesota knows that they can't hang with the Dan Campbell-led Lions. Let's get this win Sunday night. Let's get the 1 seed. And let's send Minnesota straight into a wild card. I'm out, and as always, go Lions.
Detroit, let's work. Hey.
Takes a little bit more.
Oh, yeah.
Takes a little bit more.
Yeah.
It takes more to be one pride, a little bit more to be Detroit. It takes more to be this live, a little bit more to make this noise. One pride, more fight, more heart, more grit. One pride, more fight, more heart, more. Still rep the city and we still gritty like we did it before. Still defend the den, except this time we brought a little bit more. We ain't kicked off, it sound like we scored. Turn it up, that's what kickoff is for. When you talking about one pride, we don't get loud, we deliver the roar. Tell them boys when the coin flip, we gon' come with it, don't fumble it. The pressure's high and the fresh jerseys with block numbers gon' double it. Hey, it's one pride and the Lions did what they up against. This Detroit, if it's smoke, we ain't never ducking it, let's kick